country of mountains. These are the first words of the national anthem. These same mountains are the biggest tourist attraction and a major source of income for the country to which railway will take you this time, Austria. The journey will span from Vienna to Innsbruck. A country with a rich history that's expressed through the architectural masterpieces such as this Schönbrunn Palace in Vienna. It was built in the 18th century as a summer residence for the Habsburger imperial family. The palace gardens are a major attraction. There are many traces here of Elizabeth, better known as Sisi, the most famous member of the imperial line. This Central European capital proves that the country is more than mountains, snow and cable lifts. Cultural enthusiasts will find themselves surrounded by beautifully maintained architectural relics from the Roman and Habsburger eras that are a mix of Roman, Baroque, Gothic and Renaissance styles. A famous example is the concert hall. Built in 1867 and considered by experts to have the best acoustics in the world. It's not without reason that the New Year's concert by the Vienna Philharmonic Orchestra is broadcast live from here to a global audience. Nearby is the St. Charles Church. With its extraordinary green dome, it's also called a Baroque jewel. For classical music lovers, Vienna is the Mecca of Europe. The city has an extensive musical heritage. World-famous composers lived and worked here. Among them were Johannes Brahms, Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart, and the king of the waltz, Johann Strauss. Hundreds of guests from all over the world danced to the music of this last composer at the annual Opera Ball, the musical highlight in Vienna that's held in this world-famous Vienna National Opera. This building from 1869 provoked so much criticism from the local population and the emperor that the architect committed suicide. The architects of this National Art Museum and the National Historical Museum were spared this tragic fate. These two masterpieces house some of the world's major collections. The political heart of Austria is based in the Hofburg. From this imperial palace, the Habsburgers ruled their kingdom of the Donau monarchy until 1918. Today, it houses the cabinet of the Austrian president. The horses of the Spanish riding school are also stabled here. A pleasant contrast with the stately government buildings are the cheerful shopping streets. Here, flamboyant Viennians heartily make their purchases in luxury shops, and gourmets buy typically Austrian delicacies such as chocolate and nougat. Tired hikers relax out on the terraces of the many coffee houses, and tourists admire the modern architecture that's also present in this historical city. The time has come for us to pack up our things and be on our way. We are at the Südbahnhof, one of Vienna's 4 train stations. These stations are at the center of an extensive railway network totaling 5,800 kilometers and reaching not only many destinations in Austria, but also cities like Prague, Budapest and Bratislava. For this reason, Austria is an excellent departure point for a journey through Central Europe. But we'll stay in the country of mountains and cross it from east to west. Our first stop is Bruck an der Mur, a small village roughly 150 kilometers southwest of Vienna. A modern intercity train takes us through a landscape where the snow is swept clean by the green of spring. The train races forward over the oldest mountain railway in Europe. It's considered to be one of the greatest triumphs in the history of European rail construction. At one time considered an impossible feat, this railway takes us over the narrow flyovers and through the narrow tunnels, finally to arrive at the absolute high point, the Semmering Bridge. It's been said that workaholics are as difficult to find in Vienna as a needle in a haystack. If that's the case, then that certainly applies to Bruck an der Mur. This is one of those countless typically Austrian villages where life quietly goes its course and where visitors can have a pleasant stay in summer or winter. But whoever gazes down the streets will discover that here too there is old architecture and arts and crafts. Bruck an der Mur is known for its metalworks, and signs of this diligent work are evident everywhere. We leave the village of Bruck an der Mur behind us and continue our journey westward on the intercity train. The next stop is about 120 kilometers away in the next to largest province of Austria, Steiermark. Our destination is Schladming, a small city in one of the most popular ski resorts in the country. Schladming, with a current population of about 4,000 residents, has been a lively city ever since it was founded in the 12th century. Most of the inhabitants work in the textile industry, which specializes in the famous heavy woolen coats. But tourism is also a major industry in Schladming. Situated in the green heart of Austria, where perpetual snow alternates with vast forests and green hills, this is a popular vacation destination for both Austrians and foreigners. The small city lies at the foot of the Dachstein Mountains, one of the major ski areas of Austria, with a summit of almost 3,000 meters. An ideal setting for the athletic tourist. Skiers will find an extensive and finely developed infrastructure of slopes, cable lifts and ski lifts. But hikers, mountain bikers and rafters come here in great numbers as well to breathe the healthy mountain air. Anyone who's looking for an alternative to hotels and apartments in Schladming can look outside of town, where farmers let rooms to tourists. We're going to spend the night at our next destination, Salzburg, 100 kilometers to the north. On the way, we pass an impressive structure that rises high above the countryside, the Hohenwerfen Castle. It's a 16th century fort built by the archbishops of Salzburg. It gives us a taste of the riches of this city. We slowly enter the station of Salzburg. The birthplace of Mozart is one of the most visited sites in Austria. It's primarily during the festival, the annual ceremony in honor of the composer, that thousands of Mozart lovers from around the world flock to the city. But it's also the combination of the cosmopolitan liveliness, the historical places of interest, and the beautiful surroundings to which Salzburg owes its fame. Since the 1st of January of 1997, the Old Quarter of Salzburg is included on the UNESCO list, which marks the cultural treasures of the world that must be carefully preserved. One of the reasons the city is on the list is undoubtedly the Fort Hohensalzburg. This symbol of the Mozart city was under construction for 6 centuries and was completed in the 17th century. It's now the largest fortress in Central Europe that is completely intact. Salzburg was the administrative centre of the Romans and the seat of many archbishops. Thanks to the high revenue from the salt and silver mines in the area around the city, the archbishops were able to have numerous cathedrals, summer residences and palaces built. Salzburg is now famous for its display of historical splendour. It was also the stage of one of the most famous movies of all time, The Sound of Music. Salzburg's most famous resident, Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart, was born in 1756 on the 3rd floor of this house. He composed all of his earlier works here. Nowadays, the Mozart Museum is housed here. The house is in the Getreidegasse, that's dubbed by proud Salzburgers as the most famous shopping street of Austria. The many ornamental iron signs are remarkable. The most beautiful park of Salzburg, the Mirabell Garden, lies on the other side of the Salzach, the river that runs through the city. It's part of the Mirabell Palace, built by Archbishop Wolf Dietrich for his mistress in 1606. A favourite recreational area for Salzburgers is the beautiful Salzkammergut, southeast of the city. The village of St. Wolfgang offers a boat excursion departing from the Weißenrüssel Hotel, made famous by Bernatsky's identically named opera and by scenes from the film Sisi. The most important reason for our visit to St. Wolfgang is this 100-year-old steam locomotive that slowly rides by over a narrow-gauge track. Climbing and descending from the steep 200-metre-high Schaffberg is no problem for this antique cograil train. In a modern intercity train, we set course for the southwest to Innsbruck, the final destination of this journey across Austria. It's the longest stretch of our journey, almost 200 kilometers. It's also one of the most beautiful train routes in this country of mountains.